Close your heavy eyelids and take a deep breath. The world outside has finally quieted down, and here, in the dim light of history, we turn away from the urgent noise of today. Welcome to a journey through the quietest, coldest, and most resilient moments of the past. Tonight, we travel back to the deep winter of the Middle Ages, not for battles or kings, but for the slow, steady survival of the ordinary peasant. Imagine a time when the night was a vast, formidable ocean of darkness, and warmth was the only treasure worth holding. How did they endure the biting frost with nothing but straw and rough wool? How did they find comfort when the wind rattled the shutters and the fire burned low? There are no demands on you now. There is no need to like, to subscribe, or to think. Your only task is to sink into your pillow, to find the stillness within, and let the slow, rhythmic breathing of history lull you to rest. Let us drift toward a tiny, solitary mud hut on the edge of a frozen field. The storm howls against the thatch outside, but within, a small, stubborn fire crackles. You are safe here. The past is gone. You can rest now. Step out of the biting gray wind and cross the threshold. Entering the architecture of warmth is space defined not by grand stone arches, but by the humble, handmade embrace of the earth itself. Close your eyes for a moment. Let the world you know dissolve. The sharp edges of modern life fade away, replaced by the soft, organic curves of a peasant's cottage in the deep of winter. You are standing in the center of the room. It is dim here, illuminated only by the amber glow of a central hearth. The air is thick, not with worry, but with the scent of wood smoke, dried herbs, and the heavy, comforting smell of damp wool. Move towards the wall. Reach out your hand, your fingertips graze the surface. It is rough, uneven, and cool. This is the skin of the house. In the history books, they call this wattle and daub, a technical term that sounds dry and academic. But here, under your hand, it feels like a living thing. Imagine the hands that made this. First, there was the wattle. Visualize the skeleton of this wall-flexible hazel sticks, harvested from the coppiced woods nearby. They were green and pliable then. You can picture them being woven over and under, interlaced between upright timber posts. Like a basket, this entire house is essentially a basket, woven to hold a family safe. And then the daub, the seal, a mixture of clay, wet earth, straw, and perhaps the hair of an ox, all trampled together by bare feet in a muddy pit until it became a sticky, resilient plaster. It was slapped onto the woven wood, handful by handful, smoothed over by palms just like yours. Feel the texture again. You can sense the undulations where a thumb pressed the wet clay into place centuries ago. As the mud dried, it hardened into a shell, a fragile barrier against the relentless medieval winter. It seems impossible that such simple things, sticks, mud, and straw could stand against a storm. And yet, they do not listen. Outside, the wind is a living entity. It howls across the open fields, searching for a way in. It whistles, a high, thin sound, as it rushes past the corners of the cottage. But here, inside, the sound is muffled. It is distant. The wall of mud and stick absorbs the fury of the gale, turning the roar into a soft, rhythmic lullaby. You are separated from the freeze by only a few inches of dried earth, but it is enough. There is a draft, however. You can feel it, a thin ribbon of cold air, drifting near your ankles. In this time, a house does not seal you off hermetically from the world. The cottage breathes. It inhales the cold through the tiny cracks where the daub has pulled away from the timber. It exhales the smoke up through the roof. Look up. Above you, there is no ceiling, only the dark, sloping cavern of the roof. It is thatched with river reeds or wheat straw, layered thick and deep. Listen to the roof. It creates a different sound than the walls. As the wind sweeps over the top of the house, the thatch rustles, It is a dry, whispering sound, like thousands of dry leaves rubbing together. If it were raining, you wouldn't hear the sharp ping of water on metal or the slap on concrete. You would hear a soft absorption, a gentle drumming, as the straw catches the water, drinking it in, channeling it down the eaves, away from the walls. The roof is a heavy blanket pulled tight over the house. It holds the heat of the fire, trapping a pocket of warmth that hovers near the rafters. Now, bring your attention down to the soles of your feet. You are not standing on floorboards. There is no hollow echo when you shift your weight. You are standing on the earth. The floor is dirt-compacted loam, beaten down by years of footsteps until it is as hard as concrete, yet softer to the spirit. It is uneven, polished smooth in high-traffic areas near the fire. Darker in the corners. It feels solid, unshakable. There is a dampness to it, a coolness that seeps up from the ground below. To combat this, the floor is strewn with rushes, dried meadow grasses, and herbs. Imagine the scent released as you take a slow step. With the pressure of your foot, you crush a dried stalk of meadowsweet, or perhaps a sprig of wild mint hidden in the straw. A faint, sweet perfume rises, mixing with the wood smoke. It is the smell of a summer meadow, preserved and brought indoors to sleep through the winter. Stand here in the stillness. The fire pops a sudden, cheerful sound, sending a shower of sparks drifting upward to join the shadows in the thatch. You are held within this container. The wattle, the dog, the thatch, the earth. It is a humble fortress. It requires no stone guards, no iron gates. It asks only for patience. The wind outside may be angry, stripping the leaves from the oaks and freezing the mud in the lane to iron. But inside, the air is still. The draft at your feet reminds you of the cold, which only serves to make the warmth on your face feel sweeter. You are safe in this woven basket, grounded on the earth, sheltered by the straw, watching the firelight dance across the uneven walls, illuminating the fingerprints of the past. There is nothing to do here. The work of the day is finished. The sun has long since surrendered to the horizon. The animals are quiet in the byre. The village is asleep. There is only the sound of the wind, singing its old, lonely song to the roof. And you, listening. Warm. Still. Drifting. Asterisk. Move closer now, toward the center of the room, where the shadows retreat and the air grows heavy, revealing the true engine of this home, a living furnace made not of iron and coal, but of breath, blood, and embers. You are drawn to the hearth. It is the only light in a world that has been swallowed by the night. Here, in the center of the beaten earth floor, the fire does not roar. A roaring fire is wasteful, a luxury for the high halls of stone castles. Here, the fire is a carefully tended companion. It is banked for the night, covered with a layer of ash to keep the heat gentle and steady, preserving the heart of the flame until morning. Watch the embers pulse. They breathe, a deep, dormant red that brightens when a draft sweeps across the floor, then fades back into a sleepy gray. There is no chimney. The smoke drifts upward, a lazy, translucent ribbon seeking the gaps in the thatch. It hangs in the rafters, curing the wood, sealing the roof. The room smells of this smoke ascent that is ancient and preserving. It smells of slow-burning oak, or perhaps the earthy, pungent aroma of dried peat dug from the bog. It is a scent that clings to everything: the walls, the blankets, your hair. It is the scent of safety, but the fire is only half the warmth. Turn your head slightly. Look into the dimmer corners of the room, where the roof slopes low toward the ground. Do you see the shapes there? They are large, quiet, and still. In this time, the house is not divided. There is no sharp line between the human world and the wild. To survive the winter, the barn and the bedroom have become one. You are sharing this space with the livestock. A cow, perhaps two. A small cluster of sheep, maybe a goat, standing watchful in the gloom. They are tethered loosely at the far end of the cottage, partitioned only by a low wooden hurdle or a drop in the floor level. Dot walks softly toward them. The straw beneath your feet changes texture here. It is thicker, looser. Dot. You can feel the heat radiating from them before you even touch them. A cow is a massive creature, a biological radiator generating a constant, humid warmth that fills the room. Reach out and place a hand on the flank of the nearest animal. The fur is coarse, oily with lanolin, and deeply, deeply warm. Beneath your palm, you feel the slow, rhythmic expansion of a rib cage. Asterisk in, out. Asterisk, asterisk, in. Out. Asterisk, the animal does not startle. It knows you. It is part of the family. Listen to the sound of the room. It is not silent. It is filled with the comforting, low-frequency noises of life. You hear the soft, wet sound of a cow chewing its cud, a rhythmic grinding motion that is strangely hypnotic. You hear the rustle of a sheep shifting its weight in the straw. You hear the occasional deep sigh of a creature settling down for the night. These sounds tell you that all is well. If there were a wolf outside, or a thief, the animals would be restless. Their calm is your security system. The air here tastes different. It is rich and organic. It smells of sweet hay, of warm milk, of wool, and of the beasts themselves. To a modern nose, it might seem heavy. But to you, standing here in the dark, it smells like life defying the frost. It smells like a promise that spring will eventually come. Now turn back to the hearth. It is time to rest. And just as the animals huddle together, so do the people. There are no private rooms here, no doors to close against your kin. Privacy is a concept for the wealthy, for those who can afford to be cold. Here, solitude is dangerous. Here, closeness is survival. You move toward the sleeping area, usually. A raised platform or a simple mattress of stuffed straw near the fire. Visualize the arrangement. It is a layering of humanity, a strategy of shared warmth that historians might one day joke about, calling it human lasagna. But there is nothing funny about it tonight. It is sensible. It is necessary. You lie down. The mattress creates a soft crunching sound as it settles under your weight. The bedding is linen, worn soft by years of washing, and heavy wool blankets woven on a loom in the village. You are not alone. You settle in beside others. A shoulder presses against yours. A back shields you from the draft. There is a profound sense of camaraderie in this pile. You are part of a single breathing organism. The heat from the person to your left travels to you. Your heat travels to the person on your right. You are a chain of warmth, unbroken. Lying here, staring up into the darkness where the smoke drifts, you feel the weight of the day lift. The physical proximity dissolves the anxiety of the mind. You cannot feel lonely when you can feel the heartbeat of your kin. You cannot feel small when you are part of this huddled strength. The room settles. The fire pops a single, sharp sound that accentuates the silence. Outside, the wind tries the door again. Rattle, thump, but it cannot get in. You are insulated by the wattle and daub walls. You are sheltered by the thatched roof. You are warmed by the glowing embers of the hearth. And you are guarded by the breathing. Giants in the corner. Listen closely. Can you hear it? The synchronization. The breath of the sleepers. The breath of the cattle. The slow, pulsing breath of the fire. Everything in this room has slowed down to the same tempo. A rhythm of endurance. It is a slow, heavy rhythm, like the swinging of a pendulum in a clock that hasn't been invented yet. Beat, beat. The cold is a distant theory. The dark is a blanket. You are simply another living thing in the pile, safe in the living furnace of the home. Let the sounds wash over you. The chewing, the breathing, the wind. They are not interruptions. They are the texture of silence. Drift deeper into the warmth. The distinction between you and the room is fading. You are just heat. You are just breath. You are just here, waiting quietly for the sun. The true battle for the dawn is not fought with swords or shouting, but with the quiet, deliberate strategies. Of the night, a campaign waged with heavy bread and carefully smothered embers. The sun has gone. The light has failed. And now, the rhythm of the house shifts from labor to preservation. Sit for a moment on a low bench near the fire. Feel the wood smooth and polished beneath you. The day's work is done, and your body feels heavy, pulled down by gravity and fatigue. But before sleep can claim you, the internal furnace must be stoked. You are holding a wooden bowl. It is warm in your hands, the heat seeping through the grain of the wood into your palms. Inside is the evening meal. In the history books, this is called pottage, a word that sounds thin and watery. But here, in the depth of winter, it is a dense, life-sustaining mass. It is a thick stew of field beans, dried peas, and turnips, simmered for hours until everything has dissolved into a unified, earthy brown. Lift the spoon. It is carved from horn or wood, light and familiar. Take a bite. The taste is not sharp. It is deep. It tastes of the soil, of the root cellar, of things that have waited patiently in the dark to nourish you. It is accompanied by a hunk of bread rye or maslin. This is not the airy white loaf of a modern bakery. This is dark, heavy bread. It is dense as a brick and nearly as solid. Chew slowly. You must work at this meal. The bread resists. It demands effort. As you chew, you are participating in a crucial biological strategy. You are eating for warmth. In a world without radiators, your body is the primary heater. By filling your stomach with these slow-burning, complex carbohydrates, you are igniting a slow fire in your gut. As you digest this heavy meal throughout the long night, your metabolism will generate a steady hum of thermal energy. Feel the food settle in your stomach. It feels like a warm stone, anchoring you to the bench. A pleasant lethargy begins to spread through your limbs. Your eyelids grow heavy. The blood is leaving your hands and feet to gather in your core, to work on the meal. This is the food coma we joke about today, but here it is a survival mechanism. It is the body preparing to hibernate for the next 10 hours. But you cannot sleep yet. There is one final ritual, the most important act of the night. You must tend the external heart of the home. Stand up slowly. The air away from the fire is noticeably cooler. You look down at the hearth. The flames are dying down now, leaving a bed of pulsing, brilliant orange coals. They are beautiful, but they are vulnerable. If you leave them exposed, they will burn themselves out before midnight, leaving the house to freeze. And in the morning, trying to strike a spark with flint and steel in the numbing cold is a misery you want to avoid. So, you prepare to bank the fire. This is a skill passed down through generations, a delicate art of suffocation. You take up the iron shovel, or perhaps a large, flat piece of slate. You reach to the edge of the hearth, where the gray, powdery ash has collected for days. It is soft as flour, light as dust. Gently, carefully, you begin to shovel the ash over the glowing coals. Scrape, pour, scrape, pour. The sound is soft, like sand falling in an hourglass. You are burying the light. Watch as the bright orange glow is swallowed by the gray. You are building a small mountain in the center of the room. You cover every glimpse of red, sealing the heat inside. You are not killing the fire. You are putting it to sleep. Underneath that thick blanket of ash, the embers will slumber. Deprived of oxygen, they will not burn, but they will not die. They will hold their heat, glowing faintly in the dark heart of the mound, waiting for you to rake them open at sunrise and feed them a twig of dry kindling. Smooth the ash pile with the back of the shovel. It looks like a small, gray barrow. The light in the room changes instantly. The dancing shadows on the walls vanish. replaced by a uniform enveloping gloom. The visual warmth is gone, but the physical warmth remains, trapped in the stones, in the thatch, and in the ash. The house is now under curfew. The word comes from the French couvre-feu, cover fire. It is the signal that the day is truly over. Stand in the dimness for a moment. The air smells faintly of the disturbed ash-a-dry, mineral scent that mixes with the lingering aroma of the rye bread. There is a profound sense of safety in this ritual. You have fed the body. You have secured the fire. You have closed the shutters. The strategies of the night are complete. You have done everything you can to cheat the winter. Now, the house breathes a sigh of relief. The wind may prowl outside, searching for a weakness, but inside, the defenses are set. The heat is banked, both in the hearth and in your belly. You turn away from the gray mound of the fireplace and move toward the sleeping area, moving slowly. Through the dark, guided by memory and the soft, rhythmic breathing of the room. The preparations are finished. The waiting begins. And in this waiting, there is peace, as the smoke from the peasant's fire dissolves into the vast, starless canopy of the night. We allow the centuries to slip away like mist clearing from a river, drifting from the low, breathing warmth of the mud hut to the high, silent cold of stone. You are floating through time now. The years fall away beneath you. 10, 50, 100, 200. The landscape below remains dark, but the shapes are changing. The gentle curves of the thatched roofs harden into sharp, jagged lines. The smell of wet earth and livestock fades, replaced by a sharper, colder scent. It is the smell of river water, old mortar, and damp limestone. You have arrived in a different silence. Land gently on the floor. It is no longer the packed dirt. It gives slightly beneath your weight. It is stone, canned stone, brought all the way from Normandy, pale and cool to the touch. It does not hold the heat like the earth does. It seems to hold its breath. You are in the Tower of London. It is May, 1536. But the spring warmth has stopped at the walls. Here, inside, the air is still wintry, preserved by 12 feet of masonry that remembers the frost of January. Better than the sun of May. The room is vast, compared to the cottage we just left. The shadows here are longer, stretching out from the corners like dark velvet ribbons. In the center of this stone chamber, there is a figure. She is not huddled in a pile of family and livestock. She is alone. Walk toward her. Your footsteps echo faintly. A dry tap, tap, tap that vanishes into the high ceiling. This is the sound of isolation. In the peasant's hut, silence was soft and stuffed with straw. Here, silence is hard. It bounces off the walls. It amplifies the solitude. She is standing by the narrow window, looking out. She is wrapped in a robe of damask, heavy, luxurious. Fabric that rustles with a crisp whisper every time she shifts her weight. It is far finer than the rough wool of the peasant, but it offers a different kind of warmth. It is a shield, not a blanket. Stand beside her. Look out the window. Below, the River Thames is a slab of black glass, moving endlessly toward the sea. You can hear it. It laps against the stones of the Trader's Gate. Slosh, hush, slosh. It is the heartbeat of the city, a slow, rhythmic pulse that never stops. The woman rests her hand on the stone sill. Her fingers are long, her skin pale against the gray rock. This is Anne. Tonight, she is not a queen fighting for her life, nor a piece on a political chessboard. History has shouted her story for centuries. But tonight, we are only listening to her silence. She is simply a woman awake, while the world sleeps. Feel the draft here. It is different from the draft in the cottage. The cottage draft came from the earth. This draft comes from the river. It carries the moisture of the Thames. It chills the air, making the single candle on the table flicker nervously. Watch the flame. It struggles against the vastness of the room. It illuminates a small circular prayer book lying open, a half-finished letter, a silver cup. Beyond that circle, the room dissolves into gloom. In the peasant's hut, the darkness was shared. Here, the darkness is hers alone. She turns from the window and walks toward the fireplace. There is a fire here. Yes, a grate of high-quality coal and dry timber. It burns cleaner than the peasant's peat. There is no heavy smoke, no stinging of the eyes. But the heat gets lost in the height of the room. She extends her hands to the blaze. You can imagine the sensation. The palms of her hands grow hot, almost stinging, while her back remains touched by the chill of the stone walls. It is a world of contrasts. Fire and ice, velvet and rock. She sits in a high-backed chair. The wood creaks a sudden, sharp sound that startles the stillness. She leans back. She listens. In the mud hut, the walls were thin enough to hear the wind. Here, the walls are so thick they sever the connection to the world. She cannot hear the wind. She cannot hear the city. She can only hear the settling of the tower itself. Crack. A timber in the ceiling expands. Sigh. A draft moves through the corridor outside. These are the sounds of a fortress settling down for the night. It is a heavy, brooding sound. She closes her eyes. For a moment, stripped of her titles, stripped of her history, she is just a body seeking rest, just like the peasant on the straw mattress. She is tired. The weight of the stone seems to press against her temples. But there is a strange peace here, too. The stone is solid. It is immovable. Just as the wattle and daub protected the farmer from the storm, these walls protect her from the chaos of the court, if only for tonight. The door is bolted. The guards are on the other side. For these few hours of darkness, nothing can reach her. She pulls the damask robe tighter. She breathes in the scent of the fire cleaner, sharper, but still the ancient smell of burning wood. The river flows on outside. Slosh. The candle burns lower, measuring out the time in drops of wax. From the humble earth of the cottage to the soaring stone of the tower, the night is the same. It is a time of waiting, a time of stillness. Whether you sleep on straw or sit in velvet, the darkness asks for nothing but your breath. Rest here in the stone shadow. The walls are strong. The river is constant. The dawn is still hours away. Step into the silence that follows the storm, where the shouting of the court has faded into a stillness so deep, it feels like the stone itself is holding its breath. You are here, in the Queen's lodgings. In the final hours of the night. It is a strange irony, one that the walls seem to understand, even if the people do not. These are the same rooms where she stayed before her coronation. 3 years ago, she sat here awaiting a crown. Now, she sits here awaiting the end of all things. But look at her. There is no panic in this room. The hysteria of the early days, the laughing, the weeping, the desperate hope for a reprieve has evaporated. What remains is something denser, heavier, and far more profound. It is dignity. You see her sitting at the small table, bathed in the soft, trembling radius of the candlelight. She is writing nothing now. The time for letters is over. The ink is dry. She is simply existing. Watch her hands. They are clasped together, resting on the velvet cloth of the table. They are steady. In this quiet space, stripped of the jewels, the music, and the political maneuvering, Anne has returned to the core of herself. The noise of the world, the accusations, the rumors, the king's anger has been locked outside the heavy oak door. Here, there is only the woman and her God. She reaches out and opens the small book in front of her. It is a book of hours, bound in leather that has been softened by the oils of her skin. Listen closely. You can hear the faint, dry sound of the vellum pages turning. Crinkle. Hush. She begins to read, her lips moving in a whisper that barely disturbs the air. She is not praying for rescue. She is praying for strength. She is organizing her mind, using the ancient rhythmic Latin verses to build a structure of peace within the chaos. Asterisk, O death, rock me asleep. Asterisk. The words are a lullaby. She is singing to her own spirit. Shift your gaze to the corner of the room. There, laid out on a chest, are the clothes she has chosen for the morning. The selection of a gown is a trivial thing in the face of eternity, and yet it is the last choice she will ever make. It is her final message to the world. She has not chosen black, the color of mourning, nor has she chosen the bright, defiant colors of her youth. She has chosen gray, a dark, rich damask, the color of the storm cloud, the color of the river at twilight, the color of the stone walls that surround you. Walk over to the fabric. In your mind, run your hand over it. It is cool and smooth. The pattern is woven deep into the silk, a labyrinth of threads catching the low light. Underneath it, she will wear a kirtle of crimson, a hidden heartbeat of red, but to the world, she will present this mantle of calm steel gray. It is the color of composure. By choosing this, she is telling the world that she is not afraid. She is wrapping herself in the color of the dawn that is coming. Turn back to her. She has risen from the table. She moves to the window one last time. The glass is thick, distorting the view of the green below. But she is not looking at the scaffold. She is looking up. The sky is beginning to change. The absolute black of midnight is softening into a deep, bruised purple. The stars are retreating, one by one, surrendering to the inevitable light. Stand beside her. Feel the stillness radiating from her. It is a physical sensation. It is the feeling of a burden being set down. For years, she has carried the weight of a kingdom. She has carried the weight of a dynasty, of a marriage, of a reformation. She has fought for every inch of ground, for every breath of air. But tonight, the fighting is over. There is a profound relief in that realization. She does not have to be clever anymore. She does not have to be charming. She does not have to be careful. She only has to be present. You can feel her breathing. It is slow, measured. Asterisk in and out. Asterisk, asterisk in and out. Asterisk, she is synchronizing herself with the turning of the world. She is accepting the flow of time, rather than trying to dam it up. In this moment, she is not a tragic figure. She is a master of her own soul. A king may take her life, but he cannot touch this quietude. He cannot invade this stone room where she has made peace with herself. The candle flickers and finally dies, drowned in a pool of wax. The room does not go dark. Instead, it fills with the pale, ghostly gray of the morning. The light touches her face. It is pale, drawn, but unlined by fear. She turns away from the window. She walks to the center of the room. She waits. And in this waiting, there is a beauty that transcends the horror of history. It is the beauty of a storm that has blown itself out. The sea is flat. The wind has died. The silence of the tower is no longer a prison. It is a sanctuary. It wraps around her like the gray damask gown. It holds her up. You are witnessing the transformation of fear into grace. The door will open soon. The world will rush back in with its noise and its violence. But for now, in this suspended moment, everything is perfect. Everything is still. There is just the gray light, the cool stone, and the quiet, steady beating of a heart that is ready to rest. Stay here in this peace. Let the gray light wash over you too. The past is finished. The story is told. There is nothing left to do but close your eyes and drift into the silence. Leave the still gray stone of the tower now. Let the walls dissolve into the mist, and let the ground beneath you begin to sway, gently, rhythmically, like a cradle rocked by the ocean. We are moving west. Across the vast, dark Atlantic. Feel the air change. It is no longer the damp river chill of London. It is sharper, cleaner. It bites at your cheeks with the ferocity of a New England winter. Breathe in. the air smells of salt, of frozen seaweed, of pine tar, and wet rope. You are standing on a wooden wharf in Boston Harbor. It is December 16th, 1773. The night is pitch black, the moon hidden behind a thick blanket of clouds that promise snow. Listen to the water. Asterisk lap, slap, creak, asterisk. The harbor is not asleep. It is restless. The black water bumps against the pilings of Griffin's Wharf, churning with the tide. In the darkness, you can make out the silhouettes of 3 ships. The Dartmouth, the Eleanor, the Beaver. They loom above you, their masts scratching against the sky like skeletal fingers. They are heavy ships, sitting low in the water. They are tired. They have crossed an ocean to bring their cargo here, only to be met with silence and stubbornness. Walk closer to the edge of the wharf. The wood planks are slick with frost. Your boots make a hollow, crunching sound. Crunch, crunch. There is no shouting here. History often paints this night as a riot, a chaotic explosion of anger. But stand here for a moment and listen. It is quiet, eerily quiet. There is the low murmur of voices, disciplined and hushed. There is the thud of heavy boots. But there is no mob. This is not a brawl. It is a surgery. Watch the figures moving on the deck of the Dartmouth. They are wrapped in heavy woolen coats, some with blankets draped over their shoulders like makeshift cloaks. They have smeared their faces with soot and coal dust, not to frighten, but to disappear. In the dark, they are just shadows moving among shadows. They work with a rhythmic efficiency. Asterisk, heave, swing, crack. Asterisk, the sound of a hatchet splitting wood echoes across the water. It is a dry, precise sound, like a branch snapping in a winter forest. They are opening the crates. 342 chests of tea. Ohi, Kongu, Souchong, Singlo, Hyson. Exotic names for dried leaves that traveled thousands of miles to end up here, floating in the freezing brine. Watch the tea fall. It doesn't crash. It pours. A dark, dusty waterfall cascading over the gunnels and into the harbor. She splash. The smell rises up to meet you. It is strange and overwhelming, the delicate, floral perfume of high-quality tea mixing with the raw, fishy smell of the low tide. It is the scent of a collision between 2 worlds. The refined parlors of London meeting the rugged granite of Massachusetts. The wind picks up, whistling through the rigging of the ships. Hoo, it is cold. A bone-deep cold that numbs the fingers and stiffens the jaw. But the men on the ships do not stop to warm their hands. They move with the steady, relentless pace of people who know exactly what they are doing. There is a profound orderliness to it all. They do not damage the ship. They do not steal a single ounce. One man, caught stuffing tea into his pockets, is stripped of his coat and sent away in shame. This is a ceremony of refusal. Stand here on the dock and feel the gravity of it. The darkness is thick, but the intent is clear. Below you, the water is turning blacker, stained by the tea. The tide is rising, lifting the ships gently, as if the ocean itself is accepting this offering. The city of Boston sleeps behind you, dark and silent houses huddled against the cold. But here, on the edge of the world, something is shifting. You can feel it in the creak of the timber. You can smell it in the salt air. The night is cold, but the history being made is burning with a quiet. Invisible heat. Just watch the leaves swirl in the black. Water. Drifting. Sinking. Dissolving into the past. Lean over the railing now, where the ocean meets the wood, and listen to the strange, quiet symphony of a protest that sounds less like a battle and more like a heavy, rhythmic breathing. You might expect the air to be filled with the roar of rebellion, with shouts of liberty and the clashing of iron. But history, when you stand right inside it, is often surprisingly hushed. Here, on the deck of the Dartmouth, The dominant sound is not anger. It is work. It is the sound of focus. Watch the men work. They move in a trance-like coordination, a silent ballet performed in heavy wool coats and boots. There are no commanders barking orders. Everyone knows their part. Heave. The block and tackle pulley squeals softly a-high. Thin sound like a gull crying in the distance, as a heavy chest is hoisted up from the hold. It swings in the cold air, suspended for a moment against the gray clouds, a pendulum of commerce frozen in time. Thud. It lands on the deck. And now begins the rhythm that will define the night. It is a percussive beat, steady and hypnotic, measuring out the seconds of the century. Thwack, crack, the hatchets come down. They do not strike with rage. They strike with precision. The wood of the crates is thin, seasoned pine or camphor wood, lined with lead to keep the precious leaves dry. The axes bite through the lid with a dry, splintering sound. Snap, creak, open. The lid is leveraged off. And then, the sound that defines this memory. The rustle inside the crates. The tea is packed tight. Thousands of dried, curled leaves, harvested on the other side of the world, rolled by hands in Fujian or Canton, now resting here in the freezing Boston dark. As the men tip the crates, the leaves shift. It sounds like autumn wind moving through dry branches. She. They lift the chest to the gunwale. They tip it over. Listen to the water below. Splash, hiss, gurgle. The tea hits the harbor. It does not sink immediately. It floats, forming great, dark islands on the surface of the black water. The smell is instantaneous. Breathe it in. It is a surreal, almost magical aroma to find here in the bitter cold. The salty, metallic tongue of the Atlantic is suddenly infused with the warm, earthy fragrance of bohea and the delicate, floral notes of hyson. It smells like a giant. Cold pot of tea is brewing in the bay. The scent drifts over the deck, wrapping around the men, clinging to their rough coats. It softens the edge of the winter wind. It turns the harbor into something domestic, something familiar, yet vastly out of scale. Keep watching. The repetition is soothing. Asterisk, hoist. Thud, crack, splash. Asterisk, hoist. Thud, crack, splash. Asterisk, it goes on for hours. There is no rush. The night is long. The tide is low. Look toward the shore. A crowd has gathered on the wharf to watch. There are hundreds of people there, standing in the dark, but they are silent. It is a silence so heavy you can feel it pressing against your ears. They are witnessing a turning point, and they know it requires reverence. No one cheers. No one throws a stone. They just watch, their breath puffing out in white clouds that vanish into the night. The only sound from the shore is the shifting of feet on the frozen planks, or the occasional cough muffled by a scarf. This silence amplifies the sounds on the ship. The creak of the wood becomes a groan. The splash of the tea becomes a roar. You are witnessing a dismantling, not just of a cargo, but of an idea. And it is being done with the meticulous care of a craftsman. Notice the water again. The tide is beginning to turn. The dark islands of tea are swirling, caught in the currents. They drift lazily around the hull of the Beaver, bumping softly against the wood. Bump, drift, bump. The water is thick with it. The harbor is drinking the wealth of an empire, swallowing it whole without a shudder. The men on the deck are tired now. You can see it in the way they roll their shoulders, in the slower swing of the axes. But they do not stop. They are committed to the rhythm. There is a broom sweeping the deck. Swish, swish. They are sweeping the spilled leaves into the sea. They are cleaning up after themselves. It is a detail that seems absurd, cleaning the deck of a ship you have just raided, but it speaks to the discipline of the moment. They are leaving the ship exactly as they found it, minus the tea. Clean, empty, silent. The last crate goes over. Splash. The ripples widen, moving out toward the open ocean, carrying the leaves away. The men straighten up. They wipe their soot-stained foreheads. They look at each other, their eyes bright in the gloom, acknowledging the work is done. The only sound left is the water. Lap, slap, hush. The ocean takes it all. The anger, the politics, the money, the leaves. It accepts everything, the same cold indifference. The harbor is calm again. The tea is drifting out with the tide, dissolving into the history of the salt water. You stand there on the deck, feeling the vibration of the ship as it settles, lighter now, floating higher in the water, that the protest is over. The silence returns, fuller now. Deeper. The city breathes out. The ships rock gently. And the tea leaves begin their long, slow journey to the bottom of the sea. Drifting down, settling into the sand. Quiet. Gone. Let the black water of the harbor recede, pulling back not just with the tide, but with the pull of time itself, until the moisture evaporates completely, leaving you standing in a silence made of sand. We are leaving the freezing Atlantic. We are leaving the wooden ships and the iron axes. We are drifting south, crossing the equator, and falling further back into the deep, gray well of history. The air around you changes. The bite of the frost vanishes. The humidity dries up, turning into a warmth that feels baked into the very air you breathe. You have arrived in the soup, Valley of Peru. It is 5,000 years ago. Or perhaps it is today. In this desert, it is hard to tell the difference. The landscape here is a palette of ochre, beige, and dusty white. It is a world stripped of water, stripped of green, reduced to its most elemental form. Earth and sky feel the ground beneath your feet. It is no longer the slippery wood of a dock. It is dry, packed dirt, warm from a sun that has just set behind the coastal mountains. There is a wind here. It is one of the oldest winds on Earth. It flows up from the distant Pacific, channeling through the valley walls like a river of air. Close your eyes and listen to it. Hume. Hume. It does not rattle windows or creak against timber. It has a hollow, rushing sound as it moves over the sand dunes. It is a sculpting wind. For millennia, it has been smoothing the rocks, shifting the sand, burying and unburying the past. It touches your face with a dry, gentle hand. It smells of hot stone and ancient dust. Open your eyes. Rising from the desert floor, indistinguishable at first from the hills, are the pyramids of Caral. They are not the sharp, geometric triangles of Egypt. These are terraced platforms, rising in steps, built from stones held together with mortar made of clay and shikra. Woven bags of reeds. They look like mountains that decided to become architecture. They are silent giants. Walk toward the central plaza. The scale is immense, yet it feels intimate. The walls are low, creating sunken circular courts that look like eyes staring up at the stars. There is no sound of metal here, no clash of swords, no roar of cannons. This civilization grew in a quiet peace. They did not build walls to keep armies out. They built platforms to reach the sky. Stand in the shadow of the greater pyramid. The stone is rough against your palm. It holds the heat of the day long into the night. It feels permanent. In Boston, the history felt urgent, a spark ready to ignite. Here, history feels like a deep, slow sleep. These stones have sat here, under this same dry wind, while Rome rose and fell, while the cathedrals of Europe were built, while the ships crossed the Atlantic. Through all of it, Caral simply sat in the dust, waiting. The isolation here is profound. You are miles from the nearest ocean, surrounded by an arid wilderness. But you are not lost. You are cradled by the valley. The silence is so complete that you can hear the blood moving in your own ears. It is a geological silence, heavy, still, and incredibly restful. The wind picks up a handful of sand and scatters it across the plaza. She. It is the sound of the earth reclaiming its own work. There is no rush here. The clock has not been invented. There is only the sun, the moon, and the wind that never stops blowing. You are standing at the beginning of time, Dot, and it is quiet, Dot. So, very quiet, settle yourself on the rim of the sunken plaza, where the architecture itself acts as a giant ear, turned upward to catch the whispers of the universe. You are sitting on a stone step, smooth and cool against your legs. Above you, the Milky Way is not just a smear of light. It is a river of white fire, so bright it casts faint shadows across the sand, but it is the sound that draws you in, Dot, in most ancient cities. The loudest sounds are the clang of metal, the shout of orders, or the grinding of wheels. But here, in the heart of the Soup Valley, the technology of the day is not the sword, but the flute. Look into the center of the circular court. A fire is burning there, a small contained heart of orange light. Around it, men and women sit with their legs crossed. They hold slender, pale objects in their hands. These are the instruments of Carol. They are not carved from wood or cast from bronze. They are made from the hollow, lightweight bones of pelicans and condors. They are instruments born from creatures of the air. Watch as a musician lifts a flute to his lips. He closes his eyes. He takes a breath. Whoo! The sound is low and breathy. It does not pierce the silence. It wraps around it. It sounds like the wind caught inside a canyon. Dot, another musician joins in. Then another. They are not playing a melody you would recognize. There is no sharp rhythm, no hurried tempo. It is a drone, a weaving of notes that rise and fall like the chest of a sleeping giant. Dot asterisk. Ho, oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 dashin. Ho, oh, dash. Resonates against the stone walls of the sunken plaza. The architecture was built for this. The stones catch the notes and amplify them, sending them spiraling up toward the stars. You can feel the vibration in the stone beneath you. A gentle THRUMING. Dot, this is the symphony of the sand. Think of what is missing from this scene. There are no battlements here. Excavators have dug through these sands for years, sifting through the dust of centuries, and they have found something remarkable by its absence. They have found no weapons. Dot, no broken spear tips, no smashed shields, no evidence of an army. While the rest of the world was learning to forge war, the people of Carol were learning to tune flutes. They were trading cotton for fish, building pyramids to the moon, and gathering here, in this circle, to play music to the dark. Dot, it creates a profound sense of safety. You are sitting in a cradle of civilization that thrived on cooperation. The harshness of the desert required them to rely on one another. The irrigation canals that water the cotton fields, the nets that catch the anchovies, they are all part of the same rhythm that is playing out on the flutes. The music shifts. It mimics the sounds of the valley. One note sounds like the call of a seabird. Another sounds like the rustle of reeds in the marsh. Dot, another sounds like the silence itself. Dot, the wind brushes past your cheek, carrying the scent of the drying earth. It joins the music, blowing over the tops of the pyramids, adding its own ancient voice to the choir. You feel your shoulders drop. Dot, there is no threat here. There is no urgency. Dot, there is only the firelight, flickering on the faces of the musicians, the pale glow of the bone, flutes, and the harmony of a people who understood that the loudest thing they needed to make was a song. The song drifts up, leaving the plaza, floating over the dunes, losing itself in the endless expanse of the desert night. Dot, it is a lullaby 5,000 years deep. Listen to it fade. Dot asterisk. Ho, oh, 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 oh. Dot, dot, dot asterisk. Asterisk hush, dot asterisk, the sand absorbs the sound. The stone holds the peace, dot you are safe here, under the watchful eyes of the stars, held in the quiet, open hand of history. Rise up now, lighter than the smoke from the peasant's chimney, lighter than the notes of the bone flute, until you are high enough to see that the darkness is not a wall, but a vast velvet blanket covering the entire world across all of time. You are no longer bound to a single place. You are drifting in the space between the stars, looking down at the long, quiet history of the human night. Below you, the map of time is illuminated by the faint, pulsing glow of sleep. See the connections forming. In the deep winter of the medieval forest, the peasant family has finally settled. The heavy wooden bowl is empty. The door is barred against the wolf and the wind. The fire has been banked. The gray ash protecting the red heart of the coal. Feel the warmth of that hut one last time. It is a humid animal warmth. The cow's rhythmic chewing has slowed. The sheep are still. The family is a single breathing mound of wool and linen. They have done what they needed to do to survive the cold. They have let go of the plow and the scythe. They have trusted the walls of mud and stick to hold them until morning. And the walls hold. Drift eastward, over the stone walls of the tower. The candle is guttered out in the queen's chamber. The gray damask gown is laid smooth on the chest, waiting for a dawn that will change everything. But for now, there is no fear, only the cool, solid silence of the stone. She is asleep. The river Thames below her window continues its endless, sloshing journey to the sea, carrying away the debris of the day. The tide rises and the tide falls. It does not ask for permission. It simply washes the edges of the city, rocking the stones of the fortress. Drift westward, across the Atlantic, to the freezing harbor. The Dartmouth, the Eleanor, and the Beaver are bobbing gently on the black water. The tea leaves have dispersed, drifting out past the harbor islands, becoming part of the ocean floor. The men have gone home. They have washed the soot from their faces. They have taken off their wet boots. The harbor is empty. The protest is finished. The cold, salt air keeps watch over the wooden hulls. Creak, hush, creak. The tension of the event has dissolved into the rhythm of the waves. And drift south to the dry, ancient valley. The bone flutes have been lowered. The musicians have returned to their reed mats. The fire in the sunken plaza has burned down to a pile of soft, white ash. The wind from the Pacific has softened, no longer howling, but whispering across the tops of the pyramids. The sand holds the heat of the day, radiating it back up to the Milky Way. The silence here is 5,000 years deep. It is a silence that has absorbed everything, every song, every prayer, every footprint. You see? They are all the same. The peasant, the queen, the patriot, the musician. They are separated by oceans and eras, by stone and straw. But tonight, they are united in the universal act of rest. They have all laid down their burdens. The peasant has laid down his labor. The queen has laid down her crown. The patriot has laid down his anger. Musician has laid down his song. And now, it is your turn. You are part of this lineage. You are the next link in this long, unbroken chain of sleepers. Just as they found safety in the wattle, in the stone, in the ship, and in the sand. You are safe in the architecture of your own night. The walls around you are strong. The roof above you is secure. The world outside is carrying on without you. Just as the river carried on past the tower, just as the wind carried on past the pyramid. You do not need to hold the world up tonight. History has shown us that the sun will rise on its own. It does not need your help. The tides will turn without your supervision. The seasons will change while you dream. So you can let go. Feel the muscles in your shoulders drop. Just as the men on the wharf drop their heavy crates. Feel your breathing slow, catching the rhythm of the sleeping livestock in the barn. Feel your mind quiet, settling like the tea leaves sinking into the dark water. Feel the stillness of the desert wrap around you, warm and preserving. The fire is banked. The door is locked. The book is closed. The song is over. Everything that needed to be done today has been done. Everything that was left undone will wait for the light. For now, there is only the ash covering the coal. There is only the water lapping against the wood. There is only the sand shifting in the wind. Drift into that silence. Join the quiet history of the joy. Earth. Deep. Still. Safe. Sleep. And so, the fires in the hearth are finally banked, glowing soft and red in the deep dark. The tea chests have drifted out to sea, and the distant notes of the desert flutes have fallen silent. We leave the peasants safe in their slumber, huddled against the cold, just as you are safe now, tucked away from the demands of the day. Remember that the history of the world is at its heart, a history of endurance, of simply waiting through the dark for the light that always, inevitably, returns. You are part of this long, unbroken chain of rest. You have survived the day, just as they survived the winter. If you are finding a moment of clarity in this stillness, I invite you to leave a simple affirmation in the comments below. I possess the strength to rest. Let it be a gentle anchor for your mind before dreams take over. And if you wish to return to this quiet fireside, please like this video and subscribe. It helps keep the candle burning for us all. The past is gone, and so are today's worries. You can rest now. The night is yours. Sleep well.